Here's the problem. Instant gratification is not reality when we think about health. One of the quotes I heard that I want to share today is this concept of having a microwave mentality attached to crockpot goals. And I want you to think about that. We've been conditioned to expect everything fast, from food to shipping to results to weight loss to success. We start to believe that all of this should just happen overnight. We should be able to transform fast and it'll be okay. And I'm here to tell you that is not reality. Let's face it, we live in an instant gratification world. And when we're thinking about goals, when we're thinking about health, when we're thinking about transforming our life, when we're thinking about doing something different, when we're leaving a legacy or whatever it is, insert blank, it can be really hard to be patient. I know for me, one of the most transformative things I've had to learn is embracing the long haul of the journey. And I've learned this in a couple different ways. First of all, very much in my health. If you've been around the podcast or if you followed me on social, you're part of my newsletter, etc., you've heard me share my story. But to quickly recap, I have been on a very long inside out health journey trying to figure out what works best for my body and my brain. You know, I started in the wellness space over a decade ago, working more in a network marketing one size fits all model, and did a lot of programs and things that I had learned from my athletic past to the early years of motherhood that I thought were healthy, that worked for a while, that served a purpose. And then I really hit a wall. And when I hit that wall, nothing worked anymore. And I found myself in a place where my health was going backwards at an alarming rate, and I had no idea why. I didn't drastically change anything. My habits were the same. I was eating the same, working out the same, doing what I thought was healthy, doing what I thought I needed to do, but nothing worked anymore. And that was my massive wake-up call. And it's what led me to the work I do now. It's what led me to functional health and functional medicine, functional nutrition. It's what led me to figuring out the body as an ecosystem and really understanding, okay, there are different phases in our lives and there are different seasons that we go through, especially as women. And when I hit that wall, I had learned what it meant to actually commit to the long haul of the journey. I was no longer in the headspace of, okay, I'm committing to this and I'm going to get from A to Z and then it'll be fine. And then I'll commit to the next thing and then I'll get to A to Z and it'll be fine. And I was kind of in this cyclical nature of like committing to programs, having timelines, having deadlines. And I was realizing as I was hitting this wall in my health that that kind of mentality is what was keeping me stuck on a hamster wheel for forever. And so I had to really work myself out of that mindset and instead learn, okay, how do I actually embrace the journey of all of this? How do I attach myself to the process and learn to love the process? From where I was when I hit that wall to where I am now has been almost 6.5 years. To give you an actual realistic timeline of what it's taken me personally to heal. And when I'm talking to clients that are interested in joining my program, or I'm talking to women about what it takes to heal, the biggest thing I talk about is twofold. One, the unlearning, because there's a lot we have to unlearn when we think about health, wellness, goals, taking care of ourselves, etc. And two is learning to actually love the process and to stop thinking about the journey as these little things that I have to commit to for a little while and then I'll figure out and it'll all be over. That's not how it works. It's always this evolving thing where you have to commit to the long haul of how it goes. So today I want to talk about this mentality and this quote that I heard. And I can't really remember exactly where I heard it from, but it literally stopped me in my tracks. And that's why I wanted to talk about it today, because like I said at the beginning of this podcast, we live in an instant gratification world where we all struggle with patience. We live in food at your door in under 30 minutes. We live at deliveries in your house within an hour. We live in a place where you can get things very, very quickly. And I'll be the first to admit, it really is truly hard to be patient. Like I have even found myself with my shopping habits to go to the place that I can get things the fastest. That's the reality. And I know that this is something that we all fall into. But I want to relate this over to health. I want to relate this over to this topic of longevity. I want to relate this over to the topic of hormone health and getting after body composition goals and doing things when it comes to the larger picture of wellness. Because here's the problem. Instant gratification is not reality when we think about health. And so one of the quotes I heard that I want to share today is this concept of having a microwave mentality attached to crockpot goals. And I want you to think about that. Again, microwave or microwaving is essentially attached to instant gratification, right? We've been conditioned to expect everything fast, from food to shipping to results to weight loss to success, from A to Z in no time at all, right? So naturally, when we get into that headspace, we start to think that it can translate into everything, from health to marriage to business to our mindset to the healing journey. We start to believe that all of this should just happen overnight. We should be able to transform fast and it'll be okay. And I'm here to tell you that is not reality. Not in my experience, not in everything that I've learned from mentors, not in the relationships that I've built in my coaching program, not for each of us as bio individuals. When we think about our journeys from every aspect of life, nothing about it is fast. And here's the thing that I want to remind you of most. What has likely happened at some point in your journey up to this point is whatever has been fast or easy or too simple has been something that hasn't actually been sustainable. It hasn't actually taught you habit change. It hasn't actually forced you to do different routines. It hasn't actually stuck with you because it's been more in that microwave mentality. How do I do this fast? How do I rush through this? How do I get to the result? How do I do this overnight? How do I transform quickly? Those aren't the things that are going to last. And that's the thing that I want to talk about most in this episode is whatever's fast is not sustainable. Whatever's fast isn't going to actually get you to the result. If you've been leaning on things that are fast or looking for things that are fast, that's probably why you feel stuck somehow. And so think about this, microwave mentality with crockpot goals. We have to remember that the most meaningful things in life, the biggest transformations, the biggest successes, the largest ways we change our life, that doesn't happen with a microwave mentality. That isn't microwave timing. All of that grows through the crockpot concept, the slow burn, the slow cooking, the taking the time to get to the result. That is what matters. When I think about the biggest goals that I've achieved in my life, whether that's health, whether that's healing, whether that's business as an entrepreneur, whether that's my podcast here and the consistency I've built over the past almost 5 years, motherhood, my relationship with Dave, so much, right? So much of the things that I feel so proud of, that have taken the longest, that I have built the strongest, that I have learned the most around, has been because I have chosen to commit to the slow consistency and growth of it all. And I want you to remember that. When you think about the goals you have in your life related to your marriage, related to your healthy body, related to the faith that you want to have, related to the confidence that you're building, related to the longevity you want for your business so it actually leaves a legacy and an impact, related to a nervous system that doesn't constantly feel overloaded, that actually feels some level of calm and peace in the super busy world we live in. All of these super important things in our life don't become transformed because we did something quick, fast, and easy. It all becomes transformed because we committed to the slow growth and committed to the learning along the journey of it all. We'll get back to our conversation shortly after this message. If you are an overwhelmed and completely confused mom who just wants a simplified, easy to follow, and understandable plan when it comes to their health and wellness journey, then you're in the right place. As a wellness coach, I focus most on empowering women to follow a highly personalized and bio-individual plan that actually gets you results and that feels sustainable for your longevity. I'd love to invite you to set up a free coaching call to talk about your health and wellness journey. Head to aaronshreer.com/coaching to set up your call today. Again, that URL is aaronshreer.com/coaching to set up your call. And to make it even easier, head to the show notes of this podcast and click free coaching session to set up your call ASAP. Now let's dive back into the conversation. When I think about my healing journey, like I talked about, it's taken me over 6 years to unravel all the shit I've done, to really get honest about the mental and emotional weight I was carrying for a really long time, to unpack the expectations that were absolutely outrageous, to let go of the ideals that I thought healthy was or were, and really getting to a better place of defining health in my own terms, defining success on my own terms. That has taken time, years over years. I've also had to really unpack the level of total survival and stress I was living in for years in my motherhood journey. You know, I've talked about my healing journey. The other side of my motherhood journey is having my fourth baby, then COVID hitting, then uncovering our son's genetic disorder, then living in a season where we had uncontrolled nocturnal seizures for over a year, where I was literally deathly afraid of my son having a seizure in the middle of the night and not waking up the next day. All of that combined had my nervous system on total overload. And this is the reality. We all have seasons like this, where our nervous systems get so fried and so overloaded, and then we just decide we're going to continue to press through and plug in and power on and over-exercise, under-eat, overwork, take care of the world, and we wonder why we feel so burned out and lost. It's because we're not paying attention enough to these deep-rooted things that matter most, and that means committing to the consistency of the long-haul goals and the long haul of what we want. Everything that I've learned on my entrepreneurial journey, my healing journey, in my health journey, my marriage, etc., it's been through the repetition that I've chosen to commit to, and then building consistency and patience while I'm repeating the things over and over and over. So for example, when we think about health, we transform our health through being consistent. We get consistent by choosing the same habits and routines that we know actually serve our bodies and our brains the best. And how do we do that? How do we learn that? By practicing, by choosing to make the choices, right? By actually practicing the skills. You have to make daily deposits in some way, shape, or form, no matter what you're working towards. That's why it can be so hard in the society we live in, because we get into this headspace and get tricked into believing that if you just consistently do something for 4 days, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and then call it quits, that's enough. That's not enough. It has to be a daily deposit that you choose to commit to for the long haul of the journey over time. When I think about a Crockpot goal, I essentially think about how this is a choice where you decide that you're going to draw a line in the sand and you're going to actually keep showing up. Because you know, you are convicted, you have faith, you have understanding, you have full-hearted belief that there's going to be a payoff. That is the only way I've been able to stay in the game of entrepreneurship and stay focused enough on my health goals and the ways that I'm feeling called to impact the world. Like, I literally feel convicted every day that this is what I'm meant to do. But the only way that I actually stay committed to the journey of it all is by remembering that this calling on my heart, the way I feel that I want to transform my health and be around for my family, the way that I want to reach goals, the way that I want to make an impact, the way that I want to give back, it's because I'm understanding how long-term all of this is. Nothing about it is going to be fast and easy. Nothing about it is going to be overly simple. Nothing about it is going to be a microwave mentality where it all transforms overnight. That is not reality. It is making the choice to repetitively commit to practicing the things and putting in daily deposits, because I have deep-rooted belief that the payoff will come. I want you to remember that. Just because growth is slow doesn't mean that growth isn't happening, right? And I think that can be really hard for us. We think like we're in this invisible season and we're doing the things and we don't see a whole lot of progress. And so we assume it's not working. And so a lot of people throw in the towel or quit too early or don't recalibrate, don't choose to pivot, don't actually assess what's going on and try a new path. There's so many reasons why the Crockpot goal can make you feel like you're not going anywhere. But just like a Crockpot meal, like what happens when it slow burns and cooks overnight? Or what happens when you're like crockpotting a delicious feast for a holiday, something like that. Like it takes time. And so when I think about this idea of quitting, when I think about this idea of feeling stuck, when I think about this idea of not reaching your goals, not creating change, not getting to where you want to go, this is potentially why. You have a crock pot goal with a microwave mentality attached to it. Your expectations are out of alignment. You are feeling like it's supposed to be fast, quick, easy, and overnight. Anything worth it in your life is not going to be that way. Don't let a microwave mentality sabotage the life that you're trying to slowly build. And this is maybe the most important thing I've learned, especially in midlife health. Midlife health is a crockpot journey. I've heard Brene Brown say this: when you get to 40, you're halfway to dead. So it becomes like this very vivid wake-up call, right? Like you're in your 40s, your kids are getting older, your parents are getting older, you're more established in your job. Maybe you're doing a major career pivot. Maybe you're totally transforming in a lot of ways. Maybe you're trying to recalibrate on your health. You're trying to refocus, whatever it is. This is a wake-up call season. And when I think about midlife health specifically, like this whole thing is very crockpot focused. It's all a slow burn. It's all a learning process. It's all committing to the journey, and it's all unlearning what doesn't serve you anymore at the same time. So when we think about the health piece of this, rebuilding metabolism, healing hormones, restoring energy, regulating your nervous system, like all of these things require safety and consistency. And that is not a fast process, especially if you've been living in survival and you're trying to unpack habits that don't serve you anymore. So I want you to remember this, because this may be the reason you're stuck. You're expecting a lot to happen really fast, overnight, too fast, with that microwave mentality. When at the end of the day, you might want a crockpot goal. So what are crockpot goals? Maybe you want to make $1 million in your business. Maybe you want to make enough money so then you can save for your kids' education and future, but then give back to your community. Maybe you want to lose 20, 30, 40 pounds and actually build muscle like you haven't before. Maybe you want to transform your marriage. Maybe you want to improve your spiritual faith and your relationship with your church. Maybe you want to deepen your friendships. Maybe you want to start a whole new career because you're feeling called to change. None of those things happen fast or easily or overnight. They all require a different layer of you, a willingness to get uncomfortable, a willingness to commit to the long-term journey of it all, like I keep saying. And so if you're in this place where you feel like I'm just stuck, I want you to take some time to evaluate your expectations. I want you to take some time to really think through, where have you been the last 3 to 5 years? What kind of energy have you been living in? What have your priorities been? What have you consistently been doing for months and years, not a couple weeks? Have you been massively stressed? Has your nervous system been totally in overdrive? Have you been in survival? Are you doing enough to ask for help? Are you doing enough to actually, create an environment from the inside out where your body feels safe enough and protected enough and compassionate, or feels enough compassion to actually dig into another layer of change or working towards goals? I love this quote or this idea because it vividly helps us remember that we can't go after certain goals with a microwave mentality. It's a massive disservice to ourselves, and it's wildly unfair. And so I want you to take some time. Think about, what are your big goals right now? They probably fall into the crockpot category. They're going to take you time. They're going to be a slow burn. You're going to have to commit to the learning. And more than that, you're going to have to commit to the unlearning. And that is the process that takes more time. And that is the process that takes more growth and a willingness to get uncomfortable. And as you slowly chip away at all of these different components, you're going to be able to inch towards your goals more and more and more every day. But you have to give yourself the space and the time to do that. And one of the greatest gifts you can do is releasing the outrageous expectations and instead embrace the idea of the slow burn and the crockpot goal. Because when you commit to that and you commit to the learning along the journey, everything about it becomes more enjoyable, more educational, an opportunity to learn things that you never have before. I have learned so much about myself because I've committed to the long haul. And that's what gets missed when you hold tight to the microwave mentality. You miss all the learning, you miss all the growth, and you miss all the opportunity. And so that's the encouragement today. Let go of the fast track and stick to the long haul and watch how your health and your life transforms. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I know balancing time and energy can be a challenge, and I'm so proud of you for listening in and investing in your wellness journey. I feel incredibly grateful to connect with you and for the opportunity to share more knowledge, stories, and encouragement related to all things wellness. I would love to hear how this podcast has served you. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and leave a review on either iTunes or Spotify. Your support truly means the world to me and helps me reach more women just like you and me who are looking to transform their health from the inside out. Plus, when you share this episode with a friend, we invite more women in to learn alongside us. What a gift. Remember, knowledge is power, and the more we know, the better we can do. For ourselves, for our families, and our future. Well done on taking the step towards a healthier, happier you. Until next week, stay empowered and stay well.